Because Beethoven's Third Symphony, the Eroica, is easily among the most revolutionary pieces of music ever written, its two predecessors often get tagged as lacking the sort of progressive edge we associate with him. His First Symphony in particular is depicted as a successful but derivative piece that owes a lot to Haydn. But this is because we know where Beethoven ended up as a symphonist. What did the piece sound like to people who were hearing it when it was first performed back in April of 1800? Beethoven had begun composing the symphony in earnest the year before. He was already in his late 20s and losing his hearing. He had to suspect that whatever ambitions he'd had of becoming a celebrity concert pianist weren't going to be realized. Composition would be the way he'd make his name, and if he wanted to become a serious player in the field, he'd have to make his mark on the two most prestigious genres of his time, the string quartet and the symphony. So he got to work, completing his 6 Opus 18 quartets and the First Symphony during a 2-year period in which he also wrote 3 string trios, 7 piano sonatas, 3 violin sonatas, and an extremely popular septet. The symphony follows the 4-movement model established by Haydn. It has a substantial, brightly paced first movement that's followed by a slower, more melodic movement, a dance movement, and a finale similar in scope to the first movement, although much lighter in tone. Inside this container, however, the music isn't necessarily what audiences in 1800 would have described as conventional. The symphony is filled with sudden, sometimes bizarre shifts to remote tonalities. Tiny scraps of melody are obsessively repeated to form large-scale tapestries. Weak beats sforzandi, forceful accents, are all over the place. Even the standard minuet movement is transformed, that stately dance being revved up by an allegro molto e vivace tempo that makes it into something much more dynamic. Here Beethoven was establishing a new precedent by writing what's essentially a scherzo, and this would soon become the symphonic norm. All of these elements reveal a fundamental characteristic this symphony shares with the 8 that followed. Beethoven certainly expresses a revolutionary romantic sensibility in his music, but he does so using classical means. He would progressively expand the boundaries by writing on a larger scale and using a richer harmonic vocabulary, but he'd always return to the old templates. In this light, we can see his First Symphony as part of a continuum, the opening salvo from a composer whose symphonic legacy would become iconic.